Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to day 3 of Ignite the Fire Challenge, where we have designed 8 pillars of spiritual wellness to help you live your most fabulous life ever. And today is day 3, as I just said. And today's pillar is going to be Transcend the BS. Sorry. I'm going to try to keep this PG. Drop the ego and let go of the drama. So we can all say that at some point or another in our life, we've got a little bit of drama happening, whether it be our own or somebody else's that we've decided to involve ourselves in. And I really would like to discourage all of you from getting involved in that. Because essentially what is happening is we are leaking our energy all over the place when it comes to drama. Because what's happening is it's typically a situation that we can't control. It's a situation fueled by fear. It is a situation that really doesn't deserve our attention. And yet we get pulled in, we get sucked in, we get into this downward spiral of emotions that keep us trapped and keeps our head held underwater and leaves us feeling completely helpless. And so how do we do that though, right? How do we keep from getting into that place in the first place in order to keep our energy, like we talked about yesterday, protected and well fed and in a good place so that we can make better decisions for ourselves? Number 1, protecting your energy, like we talked about yesterday. Utilizing that white light bubble around us, making sure that we know that our energy, our precious cargo here is sacred, and not wanting to leak that out into black hole that we're never going to get any reciprocity back from. So I was talking to my sweet friend earlier, and who was having a conversation with herself about a meeting that she had this morning, and she was telling me how she was trying really hard to not spiral out of control, because this meeting was causing her a lot of angst and anxiety. And it was a situation that she invited in initially and thought nothing of it. And then she started to allow outside voices to get into her head. She started overthinking about the situation and then had put herself in this place of what's the right decision to make now? And should I have done this? And beating herself up because maybe I should have kept my mouth shut, and wanting to do the right thing. And there's this constant back and forth that she was having with herself, this internal battle that was ultimately completely unnecessary. Once the meeting was done, and after she and I talked, she felt completely better about the situation and was just like, I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I spiral out of control. And honestly, we all do it. I'm not immune to this, we start creating scenarios in our mind and creating possible outcomes so that and why do we do this? I don't know, maybe to be prepared for whatever outcome is there, but ultimately, like, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So why are we feeding this ego energy to create scenarios that may or may not even happen? And God bless our ego. It's here to protect us. It's here to make sure that we stay safe. But so many times it gets just out of control. And unfortunately, we fall victim to the games that it likes to play with us of we're not good enough, or we don't have enough, so we need more, or so-and-so is talking about me, or whatever situation, fill in the blank there. If we're constantly in this place of feeling like that, of feeling like we're not good enough, feeling like we're being judged, we can start really telling stories to ourselves about what other people might be saying or thinking about us when it's probably not even true. Um, Another situation that I was in quite some time ago, I was just hanging out with a friend, and she says to me, "Do you see those girls over there? They're staring at us." And I looked and I was like, "No, they're looking in our direction, but they're not looking at us." And because she was coming from a place of the unknown, she was coming a place of fear of being judged, she felt like all that attention was directly on her. And so she was being triggered by something, an inner child wound that she had, that really led to some unnecessary drama, if you will, because she felt like she was being eyed or watched or judged, all of those things that come up when the ego gets a little bit out of control. So it's important for us to be self-aware and identify those triggers so that we know when a situation like that arises, we can stop ourselves and say, wait a minute, I know what's happening right now. My ego's being triggered, and I need to really evaluate the situation and figure out what it is that's really true and what it is that is just my perception of the truth. Um, and that just takes practice. That takes a lot of practice. It's something that is necessary for all of us to continuously do. But if we can observe rather than react, it will make this process go a lot smoother. So identifying our triggers, I invite you to think just on it for a moment. When was the last time maybe you felt backed into a corner, you felt in a place where maybe there was some unnecessary drama happening around you, or maybe even caused by you, and look at it from a broader perspective, and what could you have done differently in order to have changed that situation? How could you have reacted differently? How could you have approached the situation differently, in order to save that unnecessary drama that came along with it? Triggers they're very tricky, because a lot of the times we're not even consciously aware that they're happening. But the more we do this self-reflective work, the more obvious that it's going to become when we are being triggered. And sometimes it's a visceral reaction that we feel within our own body. And if you start to feel, and maybe that's something you can even do, is ask your body, hey, will you show up for me so that I know that that's a trigger happening and that's not actually something that's happening in my reality? Sometimes we feel tightness in our chest when we get into that place of uncomfortableness, and that could be a reminder to us, like, hey, there's something happening and what's going on, because now we feel out of alignment. And when we're out of alignment, that's when we start to feel negative feelings. That's when we start to feel uncomfortable in our own bodies. And so again, if we're self-aware that that's what's happening, then we can bring ourselves back into alignment and get back straight and really see the situation for what it is versus what we're perceiving it to be. Let's see. So leaking our energy into unnecessary situations. Think about all of the times where you could have been using that energy for something good and something positive. And all of the times where we're having a disagreement with somebody, we're having a disagreement with ourselves, we're having a bad day at work, whatever it might be. And if we could have identified that as it was happening and stopped it, we could have taken that energy and turned it into something positive and had a good day at work. We could have had a healthy conversation with our significant other rather than an argument. There's so many different ways to just shift that perspective and turn that thought process around so that we can start seeing things from this higher perspective where we come from a place of love and we're not coming from a place of ego. Ego is, again, it's good for us in small doses. Sometimes what I like to do is give people the scenario of when the mind chatter is happening. That's usually our ego feeling out of alignment. Our ego is feeling scared and frightful. And so it starts kicking in all of these thoughts and ideas that make us nervous. Again, we're going to feel that viscerally in our chest. And when that happens, visualize your ego as maybe a small child, a small version of yourself, and handing it a lollipop, sticking it in the back seat in a rear-facing car seat, and telling it to just be quiet for a little bit. You could come along for the ride. I know you're here for my safety and my protection, but you don't get to drive. Because so many times that's what's happening, is that ego takes over and it starts driving, and it's reckless. It makes bad decisions. It makes decisions that are out of alignment, that spiral us downward into those negative thought processes. And guess what? Then that's what we start attracting. So if you've ever noticed, maybe some people just, it seems like they attract drama. That's because we're in this system of like attracts like. And so if you're already stuck in that way of thinking and you're not self-aware and you're not able to pull yourself out, that's what you're going to continue to attract to yourself. So I invite you, the next time maybe you're having a bad day, maybe you have an argument with your spouse or your family member, your mother, your brother, sister, stop yourself. And even if it's in the middle of the argument, say, excuse me, I have to walk away for a second. Walk away and evaluate where this trigger is landing with you. Evaluate where in your body you're feeling it, and open the dialogue then to a conversation of, this is how I feel and this is why I feel, and validate your own self. You don't need that validation from an outside source. Tell yourself it's okay to feel that way. And here's what we're going to do about it. Rather than getting caught up in this back and forth downward spiral that doesn't really do anybody any good. And unfortunately, we're surrounded by this societally in our media, in all of the shows that we watch on TV, the movies. You know, drama provides good entertainment. But unfortunately, it is giving us a false idea of what real life, real happiness, true happiness is all about. Yeah, it's entertaining, but then what? Then we're going to walk away from that TV and we're going to carry that attitude and that energy into our real life. And in our real life, we don't always have the happy ending that they do in the movies or the TV shows. So it's important for us to evaluate and have that self-awareness and do some self-reflection on what it is that is triggering us, why we're being triggered, and release that trigger so that we're no longer attached to the emotional outcome of the situation. As humans, we're very emotional beings, and that can be a great thing, but it can be a detrimental thing at the same time. You know, like road rage and crimes of passion. Like, oh my goodness, that's really the ego really taking over and pushing you to the limit. Whereas if we can be self-aware and stop ourselves even before it starts, then we have the capacity to give and receive so much more love in a space that contains joy and happiness versus, you know, all of this is anxiety and depression that our culture is suffering from right now. Um, and tying this back into day one and day two, keeping ourselves in a place where, excuse me, where we can stand in our truth and stand in that truth with love and express that to all of those around us is going to deflect some of that drama that we might be attracting. Maybe we're going to attract some drama initially, but if we learn how to not care so much what the people around us are thinking, then we can move on and be happy about what our truth is. And if we're surrounding ourselves with light and protecting our precious cargo, then we're going to deflect and be a little bit more apt to move through any situation with a lot more grace and a lot more peace. So, yeah, I'll invite you again just to consider the next time, or consider the last time, maybe even, that you had a situation where there might have been a little bit of drama in your life. Review over what, now don't obsess over it. I don't want to tell you that by any means, because we tend to do that too. But review over what triggered you, how you could have handled the situation differently, what you will do next time in order to avoid that kind of confrontation, and just move on. Release it, let it go, and move on with some real true peace about it, knowing that the more you practice this, the easier it's going to get and the more peace you're going to attract overall in your life. Let me ask and just see if there's anything else that wants to be brought up about this before we go into meditation. You know, love is always going to be at the top of the list of everything that we're going to be talking about here for the next 6 more days. And, you know, I'm being reminded that if you bring love into everything you do, that in and of itself will soften the ego. That will soften the edges of the situation that you're in. And that will bring clarity and alignment to you so that you can see through the lens of love instead of the lens of ego, so that you can immediately bring more peace and more calm to whatever it is that you're going through at that moment. So please keep that in mind and remember that you are love, you are loved, and coming from a place of love will bring you more peace. So that being said, I would like to go into a guided journey now, where we're going to identify maybe a place, a trigger point for you. And we're going to release that trigger. We're going to free it from your emotional and physical body so that you can move forward with more capacity to receive love and give love. I invite you to come back and listen to this meditation as many times as you want to, because there are going to be multiple trigger points in all of us. There are many layers to all of our experiences, and there's going to be many trigger points in which that developed from these places. So please come back and listen as often as you need to, and you will begin to feel, maybe, probably, hopefully, even after the first time of doing this guided journey meditation, the lightness that it brings and the sense of peace that it brings when you're letting go of all of that heavy garbage that weighs us down, when we overthink, when we overanalyze, when we can't let go of things in the past that can't be changed. So I invite you all now to get comfortable, get into a place where you can close your eyes and be ready to receive. And if you're not in a place where you can close your eyes, if you're driving, at work, whatever it is, I invite you to pause this and come back to it when you do have the opportunity to fully get into what it is that we're offering right now. Okay, so let's just get ourselves grounded and centered by focusing first and foremost on our breath. Deep breaths in through the nose and fully release out of the mouth. And as we breathe in, we want to breathe in all of this beautiful divine light that surrounds us day in and day out, whether we're cognizant of it or not. Our higher self knows that it's there. It knows that we are divinely protected by this beautiful energy, pillar of white light coming down from the heavens. We want to breathe that in, fill our lungs up with this white light energy, this highest vibrational source of love into our heart center. And in that heart space, we invite you to let that white light pump through your blood, through your veins, to every cell of your body. And now as you breathe out, we ask that you release and let go of any energy that does not belong to you. Release it into the light. Allow it to be transmuted into love. Gone forever from your being. We continue to breathe in the white light. Breathe out anything that's holding us back, any negative thoughts or emotions that do not serve us. We release it and let it go. We call in all of our guides, ascended masters, archangels, ancestors, all beings of light to surround us, to guide us and protect us, to shine their light upon us as we move forward in this journey. We ask you now to start to feel the disconnect from the physical human realm, allowing your etherical body to slowly, gently float up, to move up past the ceiling in the room that you're in, up into the sky overlooking your neighborhood, continuing to float up into the clouds, all the way up past all the layers of the atmosphere, all the way up until we are in the infinite space of the universe, surrounded by starlight, completely free and detached from the emotions of the human experience. We are now observers of our timeline. We will now come to a space where, when we witness our triggers, we are not triggered by them. We're simply observing them. We do not have to feel the emotion that you originally felt in this space. We are simply just witnessing in order to be cognizantly aware, in order to release and let go. We invite you now to begin to float back down through the layers of the atmosphere, back down into the clouds. And as the clouds start to part and you can see again with clarity, we ask that you pick a point on your timeline in which to fully land. This point on your timeline that is an inception point of your biggest trigger. Wherever that may be, whatever time in your life that may be at, we want to firmly now plant our feet on the ground at this moment in time. Again, remembering that we are not here to re-experience through emotions. We are simply here to witness this trigger. We invite you to walk through this space and simply just witness what is going on around you. We're going to now count to 3. And at 3, there will be a flash of knowing what that trigger is and where it came from. 1, 2, 3. Acknowledge it. Offer gratitude for it. And release it. Knowing that this trigger served a purpose at one point because it was your ego thinking that it was keeping you safe. But now that is no longer necessary, and it is time to break free of the chains that bound you to. Offer gratitude for this moment in time, for the lessons learned, knowing that we will take those lessons forward with us, but we do not have to take the emotional attachment as well. That we can walk away from this in peace. We can send love and forgiveness to this situation without any remorse, without any regret. We simply accept and acknowledge that it is a part of our past. And it is time now to move forward into a better, brighter future. We invite you now to lift back up into the clouds. Any cords of attachment, we call in now Archangel Michael with his sword of light to cut those so that you can freely be lifted up into the atmosphere, up into the universe, connecting you, recharging your energy with all of the beautiful celestial beings that exist in this space. Healing any residual wounds that may have come from that place where that trigger was. Healing all of that emotion, releasing it and letting it go out of the physical body. Breathing in all of the beautiful light that surrounds you into that space where that wound once existed. We acknowledge it, but we let it go. We allow that light now to fill that space. We allow joy and gratitude to replace resentment and pain. We allow love to replace fear. And in this safe, sacred space, we invite you to feel all of the love that surrounds you and all of the peace that love brings. knowing that moving forward in your physical existence, you can bring this sense of peace with you as you address any future conflict from a place of love, from a place of knowing that you deserve to move forward with pure happiness and joy. We invite you to sit in this magical feeling for just a moment. And when you feel complete, you may float back down into your physical being, become more aware of your physical surroundings, come back into the space, and open your eyes. Welcome back. Think about how you feel right now after coming back out of this guided journey versus the way you felt the last time you were triggered. You see the stark difference? Do you feel the difference in your physical body? Can you imagine feeling the way you feel right now, every day, all day, even when conflict arises? How fantastic is that? So we invite you to maintain this sense of lightness, because it is possible for you to feel every day, all day. It might not be easy. Yes, this work is hard, but look at the rewards and the benefits that come from it. So again, please go back anytime you feel like you need to recharge these batteries and maybe address another trigger point and re-listen to this guided journey. It will be up for as long as there's social media and YouTube. It will always be there for you. And if you have any questions about what you were feeling today, or maybe something will come up later, maybe you feel even more triggered. That's happened before too. Please feel free to reach out. I am here to walk with you on this journey, no matter what that looks like. I never want anybody to ever feel like I'm just like, okay, meeting's over, bye, because we're not doing that. We offer continuous guidance all the time for any seekers that are looking for more clarity and more peace in their life. So as we move forward out of today, our homework assignment is going to be continuing to identify the triggers. And please journal about this, because this is going to allow you to move it out of your body through your hands and into the paper, releasing even more of that energy that we don't want to hold on to. So take the time to identify just one of your triggers. You don't even have to, and maybe it's the one that we worked through today during the journey. Identify where you are leaking your energy into unnecessary drama, and ask yourself, why do you do that? Maybe you've identified it before, but you continue to do it. So ask yourself, why do I continue to do that? Once those items have been identified, I invite you then to send that white light into those areas of the body that are being affected and ask for them to be released. And finally, you're in your journaling. How could you have handled the last situation that you were in differently? There are great lessons to be learned by reviewing these things. So yeah, I invite you to do that. I will post that in the group so that you have all of that in writing. I invite you to post your response in the group if you feel so called. Send it to me in a direct message if you don't want to be public about it. That's okay. We do have some really great, loving people in our group that will offer nothing but kindness and support if you do feel called to post publicly. I encourage you to do that. We're creating community here, and that's really what it's all about, is feeling like we're loved and supported, and none of us are alone on this journey. We all have each other to hold on to and depend on in order for the growth of all of us collectively. So if you feel so called, please do that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me personally, send me a message. And yeah, I look forward to tomorrow. And hopefully Miss Julie will be able to join me tomorrow. We did not take into account or consideration that school was starting for her kiddos this week. So it's been a little bit crazy, but hopefully she will be here tomorrow for pillar number 4, which is conquer the fear, because it keeps us on the ground. So until then, much love to every one of you out there, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a good day.